Hey everyone, it's late, but do you ever have those nights where your mind just doesn't turn off? I've had those quite frequently this past year. I even went through a pretty severe bout of insomnia. For those of you that know me, maybe more on a personal level, you know that I went through a divorce the beginning of this year. For those of you that don't know me, maybe you caught that message on the YouTube channel. Maybe you didn't. If not, this is me catching you up. I went through a divorce after being married since 2017 and after being with that person since 2014, so 7 years. To some of you, that's a lot. To some of you, that's nothing. But this video has nothing to do with the divorce itself. In fact, that was one of the better decisions that my ex and I made for both of us. But this message is more about finding oneself. I have been in relationships ever since it was appropriate for a boy and a girl to date. Up until this point, I had never really given myself a chance to be single. Now, whether that's due to some deep-rooted trauma in my past, that's something between my therapist and I. What I am here to share is what I've learned from this experience. And it doesn't make me an expert. This is just one person's perspective. I know that people go through much worse than I have. But at the end of every relationship that I've been in, I would tell myself I need to be alone for a while. I need to learn more about me. But it would never happen. I would instantly jump into another relationship because that is where I found comfort. I was afraid of being alone. After getting the divorce, I knew I needed to actually make that change and truly find myself this time. So I finally stuck with it. I didn't jump into a relationship. I didn't have someone lined up that I would try courting right away. I was truly alone. And the reality of that quickly set in. I have never been alone. I don't know who Jared is. I knew boyfriend Jared. I knew fiance Jared. I knew husband Jared, but I don't know single Jared, and it scared me to death. I mentioned insomnia at the beginning of this message, and I did in fact experience what I would consider insomnia. I would not sleep. Ever, really. Sometimes I would fall asleep long enough to possibly qualify as a nap. Some friends and family knew, or knew of it being a thing, but maybe not to the extent that it was happening. I think when I would mention it, I would say so in more of like a joking manner. So they probably figured I was just staying up late playing video games. I don't know if other people that experience insomnia are the same way, but I found myself being very unproductive. My mind wouldn't stop. So I couldn't really get anything done or even enjoy things that would normally bring me pleasure. So when I tried to play video games to tire myself out or get myself to fall asleep, I would just turn it off 10 minutes later because I wouldn't enjoy it at all. So it was rough. Anyway, sorry for such a long backstory. I just wanted to kind of set up the foundation of what I'm trying to say. And by chance, if there are people out there that can relate to this foundation, to my foundation, and have gone through or are currently going through something similar, then those individuals can connect more with this. So the reason I'm bringing this up is to maybe help someone out there that might be needing this advice, or listen to my experience to possibly open their eyes more about themselves and hopefully change their course in life if it's going down a dark path. After going through this learning curve of being alone, and trust me, the curve is still curving. I don't think it is possible to ever learn everything about yourself. But I realized that this fear of being alone and this fear of learning who I was stemmed from losing myself in my relationships. Now, for anyone going through this, it's something that could have been learned as a child. It could be a trait that we adopted, or even the way that we adapt to our partner or partners in past or current relationships. I look back at how I handled situations and how I reacted to negativity or conflict in my relationships, and I can see now that instead of being myself and speaking from the heart or without filter, I would mold myself into what I felt like my partner would want and say things that my partner would want to hear. I would rarely allow myself to actually express what Jared wanted or what Jared felt. Instead, I would sacrifice that person, me, and give all the power to my partner. And this in time made me lose all sight of who I really was. Now, when you look at situations like this, it may seem like you're helping. You avoid conflict by sacrificing yourself and giving what is wanted by the other half. You are not expressing your emotions in order to keep other emotions at bay. The arguments are shorter, the anger is stifled, the problems are solved, right? I'm here to tell you no, that's wrong. It's very wrong. I've been dealing with the consequences of doing that for almost a year now. So when you lose yourself in order to make those around you happy, you not only lose sight of who you are, but you also lose your grasp on happiness. It's easy to make yourself believe you're happy by making others happy, but that darkness creeps up and it will spill over in ways you don't realize at first, but inevitably it will catch up and creep into your life, and in most situations take over your life. So now those around you that you have made happy are still happy, but you are stuck not knowing yourself and now not remembering what true happiness felt like. Communication is by far the most important tool in a relationship. And I say tool because not everyone knows how to use it. So they don't. And those that do use it, not all of them are using it correctly. Communication is not something that is given, it is learned. And with healthy relationships, you learn together. I've seen far too many relationships, including my own, where their partner would use this tool to manipulate, to control, and even affect the other individual's emotions and feelings, to where they always feel guilty, or that they are in the wrong, or that they need to fix something that they didn't break. Communication should always be give and take. Both partners should make the other feel comfortable to speak their own mind. Only when both people feel safe to express their true feelings, can there be a healthy conversation that you can grow from? Don't allow yourself to give in and let go. There is a difference between compromise, which is a big part of a healthy relationship, and losing yourself. Don't lose yourself in a relationship. You will either never find yourself and constantly sacrifice yourself for others, or you'll have to deal with the long-term consequences of trying to find yourself again, if you can. Your happiness is not worth losing for the happiness of others, especially those that don't reciprocate or give as much as you do. Sorry, I apologize. This is definitely a long-winded message. Sadly enough, it is quite the Reader's Digest version of what is actually going on in my head. Hopefully some of it made sense, since my mind can be jumbled quite often. But something I also noticed that I hope more people can start realizing is, while I was in the early stages of finding myself, I started to become less tolerable to disrespectful people at my work. And it wasn't that all of them were necessarily disrespectful, but rude in some way. And I would complain about them to my peers, or I would actually start to snap back in certain situations. But I was luckily able to step back and look at myself from an outside perspective, and made myself realize that I was only being that way because of what I was going through. It wasn't the other person's fault. It made me think of a really good message that everyone should consider when approaching any situation. You really have no idea what other people carry around with them every day. Just because they hold it well doesn't mean it isn't heavy. You have no idea what someone's life is like, so don't create more pain and more stress to others. Be kind, be genuine. Stop being so mean to people to fulfill whatever it is you don't like about you. And that is exactly what I was doing at that point in my life. I did not like who I was because I didn't know who I was. So I pushed that onto other people. Anyway, hopefully this message can reach someone that needs it. It is late. It is almost 4 a.m. I can actually sleep these days, but once in a while I'll have a night like this. But at least now, when it happens, I try to make something of it. Like this. Good night.